The scramble for new workers in the burgeoning mining sector took a dramatic turn today, with Rio Tinto revealing it's seeking to fill 6,000 jobs, most of them here in Western Australia. The skills shortage is already biting hard in many industries, being abandoned by workers chasing big bucks in the mines. And Rio's recruitment drive highlights the risk for the state's construction industry, which needs to double its workforce over the next 10 years and is already struggling to hold on to the workers it's got. Michael McLean is from the Masters Builders Association. I spoke with him earlier. Mr McLean, thanks very much for joining 7:30 WA.
Pleasure.
6,000 new jobs in a world economy that's depressed in most parts of the world. That should be great news, but it's really a mixed blessing here in WA, isn't it?
It is good news for construction workers, Andrew, but not all of those jobs will be in the construction industry. And what we're finding at the moment is the mining resource sector are already recruiting, if not poaching, workers from the building and construction industry. And I think what it's going to do is create some challenges to not only find the skills but the labour to meet those jobs in the future.
Well, let's have a look at the construction industry as it stands in Western Australia right now. How many workers have you got and how many workers do you need? I think the current workforce is, what, 125,000 people?
We're actually at about 130,000 building and construction workers in Western Australia at the moment. And when you realise that the peak that we've ever been is about 136,000, it really highlights the way the construction sector in the civil and mining resource sector is really booming, whereas the residential and the commercial sectors are languishing.
So how is the industry going in terms of training and retaining its people? Because I guess the danger is that you end up training people for other industries.
Look, the building and construction industry has always prided itself on the number of people that it does train, but we could clearly be doing more. But it's very frustrating when a number of the apprentices that are being trained are actually getting taken by the mining resource sector. Unfortunately, the mining and resource sector are not contributing to the Construction Training Fund, which is a fund that was set up in 1990 by the state government in order to ensure that we had a skilled workforce. And unfortunately, the mining resource sector for their civil engineering projects are not contributing to that fund. Now that is clearly inequitable and needs to be addressed by the Barnett government.
So is that just an anomaly that doesn't recognise the current situation, that when it was set up it really didn't anticipate the sort of flow of workers through the construction sector into the mining industry?
What actually happened was in 1994, the political process decided that the mining resource sector should be exempted, and it's been exempted for the last 18 years. Now that we have the mining resource sector booming, the rest of the industry can't continue to train sufficient workers to meet our future needs.
Now, the construction industry, what is it going to need over the next decade in terms of workers? I mean, I've seen figures of up to, what, another 130,000 workers by 2020.
Well, given the projections in the mining sector, you'd have to say at least 100,000 over the next decade. The issue you have at the moment is that the residential sector is 30% down on its capacity and the commercial sector is 30% down on its capacity. But we're close to peak numbers in the industry already. Now that really highlights that alarm bells are ringing, and unless we find ways to get more workers into the industry, something has to give.
Well, let's think about that for a moment. I guess there's two scenarios. One is that you get the workers you need, but at a higher cost. What are the implications of that for people that are looking to build or renovate their homes?
For the residential sector, it has sufficient workers at the moment to meet its needs. So costs in that sector are relatively low and construction timeframes are very good. So a $300,000 house, for example, might take 12 months from the time you sign up to the time you get the keys. If you turn back the clock a few years when we had skill shortages, those time frames were about 2 years and you could expect the costs to go up. Now, if we can't get the construction workers we need, costs will clearly go up, but not only that, people will get very frustrated because they won't be able to even start their projects. One of the implications of Rio and others recruiting more staff, it's not just in the trades, but it's in the supervisory and the project management side. Those areas are harder to actually recruit, and that's where I think there'll be some major implications for our industry.
So what's the solution then? I guess part of it is to get the mining industry to contribute to the fund to make sure that there's a proper level of funding and training.
Certainly that's one solution. The mining sector should be contributing like every other sector, including Mr and Mrs Jones building their house today. But there needs to be a flexible overseas immigration regime. There needs to be a lot of opportunities provided to eastern states workers to visit Western Australia, and we've already got a number of about 1,000 per week visiting WA. But I think also there needs to be a focus on the education system, getting young people trained into meaningful areas before they finish Year 12. Unfortunately, we're seeing too many people, in our opinion, at school, whereas they should be diverted into meaningful training opportunities.
Michael McLean, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.